What's on the edge? We're going to take a look at the differences between overlapping and interlocking gable trim. There's an infinite number of ways to finish a gable detail on a tile roof. Depending upon the type of tile and the tile profile, you might have a rolled rake, a 90-degree overlapping gable trim like the concrete tile roofs below, or interlocking gable tile like on the Ludwig clay tile roofs above. Older designs with gable parapet walls above or a modern metal detail like the one on the lower right do away with gable trim tile altogether. We're going to focus on interlocking gable trim and overlapping gable trim on low profile, think flat tiles. A typical flat concrete tile roof has accessory tile that overlap the field tile, and it butts into the succeeding row of field tile. The approximately 90-degree trim overlaps the field tile and covers a portion of the fascia and the stepped rake edge of the field tile. The gable trim wraps the last field tile. The underlock of the last field tile in the row, you can see it in the yellow box, is covered by the gable trim. The offset from row to row in the field means the second row of field tile in this picture will finish with a tile cut in half vertically and the 90-degree gable trim wrapping over it. The Ludwig clay tile on the upper left is using a standard interlocking gable trim. This is the Albuquerque Academy in New Mexico. The roof was installed by National Roofing. The first full tile in the lower right corner starts with an overlock on its right side. These gable trim have an underlock to make a perfect fit, interlocking with the field tile and capping the gable. If you're not familiar with this interlocking gable, it's a little hard to see. On this training mock-up, it's easier to identify the parts with our Frankenstein training color scheme. The full-size field tile have an underlock on the left and an overlock on the right. A half tile called an end band is made to create the offset. Different than a tile cut in half, it is a manufactured half-width tile. It has an underlock on the left and an overlock on the right. The end band interlocks with the right rake trim as we start the second row, just as the full field tile did with the right rake in the first row below. And another end band interlocks with the left rake trim as we finish the run. The left rake and the right rake are different. The right rake has an underlock and receives the overlock of the first field tile in that row. The left rake has an overlock and it interlocks with the last full field tile or end band, minimizing cutting. Even I have a better color coordination skill than this, but we're using the color to make it easier for you to see the different parts and pieces. The ocean blue end band can interlock with the right rake and the left rake. When properly color coordinated and installed, the field tile and gable trim look like a custom fit. This is on Texas Christian University in Fort Worth. A full field tile at the gable, circled in blue or squared in blue. An end band in the second row to create the offset. A left rake overlapping the last full field tile. And a fitting I'll point out because it's there, an under eave. It's basically an eave riser piece, a starter piece that's the same color and surface texture as all the other field tile and fixtures. So we're comparing the overlapping gable trim to the interlocking gable trim. This is actually a new clay tile manufactured to match a historic detail on the El Rodeo Elementary School in Beverly Hills. It's an overlapping gable trim, and we'll use it to show some of the differences between overlapping and interlocking tile. See the red arrow on the drawing? It is the surface of the field tile row. The second arrow is at the surface of the overlapping gable trim in the same row. The overlapping gable trim rests on the surface of the field tile, giving it a more robust edge. Your visual taste determines if robust is a good thing or a bad thing. Another difference is the horizontal offset of the field and gable rows when using an overlapping gable trim. The yellow arrow shows the butt edge of the field tile row. The red arrow shows the edge of the gable trim butt edge. Your eyes are drawn to those differences. You can see the specific differences more easily when you know what to look for. The custom oversized gable trim here was made to match the original 1905 Ludowici roof. Although it has a large face, it's an interlocking gable trim. You can see the butt edges of the gable and the field tile align, and the surface of the gable trim and the field tile of each row are also in the same plane. So even though the gable trim has a large face, the nature of the interlocking gable keeps the horizontal rows of tile and the lines of the structure looking sleek and clean. Garrett Thope shared these pictures with me of a custom gable trim and his nice work with precision roofing in Laurel, Mississippi. Thank you, Garrett. When you put a standard interlocking gable next to an overlapping, the difference in style is very obvious. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me by email or phone. For sales in the Pacific Northwest of Ludowici roof tile, you can contact Lisa Jensen. And if we can't answer your questions, we will put you in touch with somebody that can.